How would you say that you are a leader? How would you work with your employees to make sure that they are efficient and well oriented?
I have no idea because it's something I think we're constantly figuring out. So it is not something I'd say is like a solved thing where it's like I'm this as a leader or that as a leader. So very often when something needs to get done, I ask people, how can I help? Not do this, but this needs to be done for XYZ reasons. Here's some context. Let me know if I can help. When we were like 5 people or 10 people, it was very different to when we were 30, which is very different to when we were 50, very different to when we were 100. And it constantly changes. Sometimes you're leading a group of people directly. Sometimes you're leading managers of a group of people. Sometimes you're leading leaders who lead managers who lead people. So it's a very different sort of dynamic depending on the situation.
Like, would you say that's also the way you sort of motivate your team, I guess? Maybe if there's a high pressure project or a deadline, would you just adapt to the way that the project is?
It's a bit different there. So I think one thing in general is you can't really motivate people that aren't motivated. Like, what am I going to do? Tell them that work 2 hours more? I can't do that.
Yeah.
You are either motivated as a person or you're not.
Yeah.
So a lot of motivation comes down to just who you hire and who you bring into the business.
Yeah.
And after that, if you provide people with the right context, they figure out how to motivate themselves and get the job done anyways.
And if you were to name 3 qualities for someone you'd want to hire, which would they be?
Proactive, adaptable, and probably hardworking.
And then when you're faced with a major decision, what type of process do you follow when making a decision?
I don't is the answer. I use my gut pretty much. Could be a weakness, could be a strength. I don't know. The way in which my decision-making process works is it's very kind of instinct-driven.
Okay.
So if you put like 2 or 3 options in front of me, most of the times I will say instinct tells me we should do this. And then I will think about, okay, why, and try and explain it.
Yeah.
It's pretty much my decision-making process is to trust my instinct.
Yeah.
That obviously changes again because when you have a bigger team, you need to be able to explain your decision. You need to be able to change your decision if it doesn't make sense. You need to trust other people to make decisions or influence them to make a better decision. And
what are the biggest barriers to innovation for AI?
probably people's comfort with technology, because it's such a new nascent field. I don't think people know what is possible and what isn't, including me and including us as a company. There's a lot of things that might be technologically possible to solve, but because we don't know that it's possible, we don't know how to access that. And as things mature and people experiment more and get more comfortable with what is achievable and not achievable, innovation will naturally increase and improve.
Like you just said, innovation comes with AI. But recently there's been a lot of ethical difficulties with AI. A lot of people are afraid of what this technology could bring.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance furthering the cause while also making sure that ethically you are doing the correct thing?
So people tend to react very strongly whenever there is a technological leap, and the nature of work changes, but work doesn't vanish. There's always going to be something to do. So the answer to your question is we think a lot about how will the nature of work change and how do we support people through that. And that is, I think, the most ethical thing to do in a way. You can't prevent the nature of work from changing. That's not possible, and that's like counterproductive. It's about how do I think about supporting people through that process and through that change.
How do you ensure that Raft AI remains competitive in such a dynamic market like AI?
Experiment fast, iterate as quickly as possible, work with customers as closely as possible, so we have like a finger on the pulse. And bring our conviction on what we think the world should be to the market.
What sort of advice would you give students, maybe like us, that want to work in a company like this in AI and around that industry?
Experiment as much as possible, become as comfortable with the technology and what it can do and what it can't do as possible. This whole concept of being AI native, that is generally what advantage you have as a student compared to people that have been in work forever. You have no real biases about how something should be done. So you can do it with AI. So try and be as AI native as possible. After that, you can apply it to whatever vertical you pick.